Thank you for joining my video. Today we are going to upgrade the brakes, specifically the rear brake. I hear a lot of bad things about these rear brakes on these Falcon Pros. Pretty much that once you hit 100 miles, they are just good for nothing. I am over 100 miles, not by much. I'm like at 107 miles to be specific, but seems to be working pretty well. But if you watched all my other videos, you can see that I do some pretty intense enduro type riding where I'm just pretty much trying to climb mountains half the time. That's what's around me, and that's what I like to do. I think it was time for an upgrade. So I did go and order a Surron ultrabee brake setup. So it's not going to use mineral oil like these do, stock or even mountain bikes use mineral oil. This actually uses DOT brake fluid, so which I'm more familiar with, and then I can get them. I have a whole bunch of brake fluid in my garage, so if anything were to happen, I don't have to worry about finding mineral oil somewhere. So I am more accustomed to that type of fluids. So that's a good upgrade for me. And also, since this is for a big boy bike, I mean, this is a big boy bike, but this is a bigger boy bike brake kit, so has two pistons in it. So it's definitely going to give you a lot more braking power. Um, like I said, the stock ones aren't that bad, but if you're going to increase power or go up, well, come down pretty big steep inclines, it's good to have the reinsurance of having a good quality brake system. So we're going to go ahead and install this today. Um, so not only did I buy that, but since that is for a completely different type of bike, we have to purchase some other things to make it work. So I did go ahead and unfortunately the only place to find one of these, which is a pretty much a bracket conversion kit for a Surron ultrabee, or sorry, Surron ultrabee brake caliper to a Surron light bee. Since the Falcon Pro is kind of based around the light bee, some things are similar and some things are different. So just looking around and figuring out kind of the routing and the direction I have to go to install this kit, I did notice that the light bee rear axle is slightly smaller in diameter than the Falcon Pro. So we might have to modify this a little bit just to get the axle through this hole. But anyway, this is that bracket that converts it. And the only place that sells these is AliExpress. So straight from the Chinese market is the only way to actually purchase one of these. I will link it in the description, so you guys can purchase it if you want to go ahead and do this upgrade. All right, we're going to start by taking off the rear wheel. What you're going to need is a 17 millimeter socket. That'll go on your left side, and then a 19 millimeter on the right side. So just zap her off. Once you got the nut off, keep it in a nice place. Slide the axle through. Oh. Grab everything that went flying. Keep it all together so you don't lose them. And then now the wheel is free. You're going to want to push forward just to get the chain, give the chain enough slack. Be careful, you have little wheel spacers to keep slack, and that's going to probably fight you a little bit. Once you got the chain loose, then you should be able to just a little bit finagling. Come on. There you go. And boom. Your rear wheel is free. Put that somewhere out of the way. Don't forget, don't lose these little spacers. They are very important. for a lot of things. Now with the wheel off, we can kind of see more of what's going on. So this is the bracket for the stock caliper. You see that you have a little guide right here, and also the hole for the axle, and a little guide to keep the bracket from rotating when you actually apply the brakes. I'm gonna go and test fit the new bracket just to make sure that it fits. So it would go like this. So that's a good sign. It does fit perfectly in there, in that little slot. That's what I was mostly concerned about. And here you can actually see, I think you can see. So the hole size, like I was saying before, is a little bit different. So you can see how much more we have to take off. Yeah, you can probably see that. We need to take out quite a bit of material off the bracket itself, so the axle can fit through this hole. Not a big deal. All you need to do is get a nice drill bit, and then just drill it out to the size that you need. Hopefully it'll be straight and not wobbly. As long as you take your time, it should come out perfect. Next step, since we got the wheel off, that's pretty much going to be like that for a while. The most concerning part that I have is routing the caliper where all the way to the back of the bike. The reason why I'm concerned about this is because when you get that kit with the new caliper and master cylinder, they're already pre-bled. So when it comes to taking it apart and moving the lines and stuff around, I really don't want to take the lines off and have to re-bleed the whole system again. It's nice that they already pre-bled it for you, so it should be nice and easy just to go ahead and slap it on in a perfect world. But like I said, I did some scouting, and once we remove this battery, we'll see if if we can make it work, and see if we can get the caliper routed through here and out through the back. So like I said, let's take the battery out. Yeah, she's a bit dirty. Put that somewhere nice. Yeah, get the wires all out of your way so you can see what's going on. Okay, with the battery out of the way, you can see, so this is our brake line. This is our stock brake line. So they have it routed going over behind this little bracket, and then it goes through, and it goes right on. Actually, it goes behind this. This is your brake cable, or sorry, your brake light harness. Sorry, my bike's a little dirty, but it goes, so the brake line goes down behind this. So I guess the battery doesn't interfere, and then it goes all the way down, and then it goes through a little thing right there, and it has a little fastener that holds it, and then another fastener here, and then that's your caliper. So my concern was that you can see how tight this clearance is. So we're definitely not going to be able to sneak the caliper through. They remove this little bracket in the battery box, because this also keeps the brake line nice and snug, so it doesn't go anywhere. So we're going to have to remove these. Oh, just remove this position. All right, so now with that bracket out of the way, we can get to our brake line right here. We're going to remove these two little brake line holders. That's one, and then the other one is over here. So now that these are off, probably going to have to spread them out, take them completely off so they don't get in the way of us taking the line out from the frame. Take off this brake lever off of the handlebars, just so we don't have to worry about that later. Just unscrew them, unscrew the clamps, so then you don't even have to worry about like taking off your grips. If you have the stock grips, maybe right now would be a good time to upgrade while you're doing this, because then it gives you an excuse to take off your stock grips and put on your new lever. I'm going to take out the key bracket, an ignition key bracket, hold down, cover, whatever you want to call it. Yours is probably not going to be purple. I did make a little short on how I made this one. I did have to modify it. This is a Surron made bracket, but you just take the two little Allens out, and I guess you don't really have to take the plug off if you don't want to, but I'm just going to do it for the sake of the video. We're going to remove this this line from the caliper. Like I said, it might be a little messy because it's going to be a whole bunch of mineral oil coming out. So just be mindful of that. So once the flare nut is all the way out, you should be able to just twist it a bit until it comes all the way out. Boom. See that? Came all the way out. So now it's separate. All right, so now that we have the caliper off of the line, go ahead, find our little, lever, and then just pull the line right on out, and now it's free. So now we just did a rear brake delete. Sick. I was going to try to route the rear caliper through the battery hole and then through back by the rear shock. This rear brake caliper is so brolic and big that it doesn't have enough room to go through. So unfortunately, we're going to have to undo the banjo bolt, which means that we are going to have to bleed the bike afterwards, after we have everything installed. So I guess we'll just keep on keeping on, and we'll go ahead, and the first thing we're going to do is we are going to mount the brake lever where we want it on the handlebars, and then we'll go from there. I'm pretty sure our mode switches and stuff is going to be in the way. We're going to remove these clam bolts. Throw this on. It's not flopping everywhere. We're just going to temporarily mount this there. Although it does look pretty damn nice right there. And I like how much wider the actual lever is. You can just click. That's real nice. I have big hands, so that's a pretty nice thing to have. Okay, so like I said, we can't route this big old caliper through where I wanted to, so we're gonna have to remove this banjo bolt. All right, we're gonna remove this banjo bolt. Get a nice socket on there. It's gonna be a little awkward because it's not mounted to anything, but you should be able to rest it either on your thigh or something hard, and just crack it open. Once it gets cracked, like I said, it's probably gonna leak, so keep that in mind. I'm actually going to grab some rags so it doesn't make that much of a mess. All right, so I grabbed some rags. I'm going to slowly loosen this banjo. So now how banjos work is it's just a bolt, and then it's hollow, and then there's a hole in the middle that allows the brake fluid to flow. So what I'm going to do is take this off. See, like I said, it's hollow, and then there's a little hole through. Make sure not to lose both O-rings. It's very important. We need to keep the O-rings because that's what seals everything and keeping it from leaking and losing brake pressure. So now that this is off, put that in a safe place. You can also put the caliper in a safe place as well. I would highly recommend putting the caliper upright so all the fluid doesn't come out of the pistons. That'll also help with the bleeding process later. Now that this is free and more maneuverable, go ahead and start routing it the way that you want to. So the stock one did kind of wrap around the headlight, so I'm going to follow that. Also looks pretty good and symmetrical with the other brake line, so they kind of cross over. That's just preference for me because, you know, symmetry is beauty. So we're going to go ahead, put it through this fork, bring it down where the ignition key would be, pull it through, make sure that it's not twisted up too bad. You're gonna want to you're probably gonna have to twist it a few times to make sure that it isn't twisted. You want to make sure that this is nice and routed properly with the least amount of twists, so the fluid can flow nicely and you can have some very responsive braking. So now that we have that through here, like I said, I put it right around the front light like that. So now that this is very maneuverable, we can go ahead and put it in the same exact routing as the stock brake line was. Here, this is where the key hole was, so go through here, make sure it's underneath your brake wire, and then you're gonna remember it goes straight down and then it goes right into a little hole. So it comes right out of this hole. Make sure you get the slack out. Like I said, it's going to be twisting a bit, so just play with it until it's nice and evenly through. So you're going to have it come back, and then yeah, that's pretty much how it was routed. So I was able to put this bracket on. It was kind of awkward, that's why I didn't record it. But these little tie downs down so it doesn't get sucked up into the belt or get hung up on anything in the trail. So this new brake line is significantly larger in diameter, but I'm pretty sure we can still use these. So there is a sleeve on this brake line as well, so I did put that towards the back since it's going to be seeing a lot more dirt and terrain. So oh, I forgot, this goes like this. I put this one in. It was very awkward, kind of tough to size it all up since the line is oversized, so just keep that in mind. I also didn't go all the way in with the bolt because I don't want to pinch the line, because if you pinch the line then you're not going to have any brakes. So I am going to keep a little bit of slack in the threads. They do have Loctite on them from factory, so it should be enough to keep them in place. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this one on for the fender. Kind of more crucial to have this one tighter than the one that's over here on the actual frame itself. But you can see how tight that is. It's not a bad thing, it's good. It just means it's not going to go anywhere and you don't have to worry about you know, anything happening or it getting too low and getting into the belt or anything like that. Alright, so this is curved up. It has to be, or it gets hung up on this little I guess the casting of it. I tried doing it the other way, it just wouldn't go all the way down. So just keep that in mind when you're routing this. I already tightened everything down, so I'm probably gonna have to loosen everything so it can not have this much twist tension on it. So I'm gonna go ahead, tighten this down, secure it. Here's the fun part. So this is the new bracket. So you saw how it goes when we first overviewed what we were doing today. So the thing is, our axle bolt won't fit. It's way too this axle is just way too small. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a drill out this hole until the axle fits in there. We got to make sure that we don't go too big. If you go too big, then it's going to be wonky, and every time you press the brakes, it's probably going to have a little bit of a back and forth, which is not what we want. So when we cut this, we're going to be very careful. Unfortunately, I don't have a drill bit this big But I do have the step drill bit, so we're gonna just be careful. We're gonna step it up on one side, flip it over, step it up on the other side, and then it should be good in the middle. If not, then I'll take a smaller bit and I will go ahead and just ream it until everything is nice and flush. All right, so unfortunately, the camera died as soon as I was drilling this out. So what I did was I took this bit, it's like a Christmas tree bit, that's what they call it, or stepper bit. So what I did was I just kept on going little by little on both sides because it is a pretty thick piece of metal. So I just kept on going little by little until the axle could fit through, which it does pretty well. If you are working on like a bench like this that you don't want to get, holes in, I suggest you just find a nice piece of cardboard, like box. And what I was doing was I was just putting it there and then I was just hitting it, and then I would hit it like that. You can see all the shavings everywhere, but all I did was go little by little until this fits nice. So it's a little bit big, but it's not too bad. There's a little bit of wiggle room, but as soon as you tighten this down, there's going to be so much clamping force against it that it shouldn't go anywhere. Plus, this little cutout is going to do a lot from keeping it from moving or rotating. The only problem is forward and backward motion, because since this little dowel on the frame that sits in here, it's meant to go forward and back. That's why it's so long. That's just due to when you adjust the chain tension. This goes along with that. But other than that, I think this is going to work out perfectly. All right, so now with all the screws out, we can remove the stock rotor. This is a good time to clean this little section of the hub off. You can see I have some leaves left over from a previous ride. There is no mud or anything on the mating surface where the rotor goes on, because then the rotor won't, there's a possibility that the rotor won't sit nice and flush against it, and then that can translate to some weird wear issues on the rotor and for the pads itself. I think that's good enough. So let's see. I don't think there's a correct orientation of this rotor. I think it is what it's going to be. I'm just going to put it this way because I can see the size over here. So it's actually a 240 millimeter rotor, so pretty hefty. That is quite nice. Since this is an aftermarket wheel and I already took off the previous rotor from the stock wheel set put on here, I did apply more Loctite on the stock bolts. So I'm not going to put any more on because there's still a decent amount still on this. But I would recommend if you're going from the stock 19 and then you're doing this upgrade, to always apply some fresh new Loctite onto these bolts. I'm just gonna snug them up. So cross, nice star pattern. I do suggest doing this all by hand. I know it's very compelling if you have an electric ratchet to do this, but you risk ruining these bolt heads. You don't want to round them out or strip them out, and you're going to have quite a big problem on your hands. Then you're going to have to either drill them out, or you're going to have to go ahead and try to find another bolt that would fit. Go ahead in a circle, just start tightening them down just a little bit. I do this a lot, so I kind of have my internal feeling about how tight they are, all by feel. I'm sure there's somewhere online that has a torque spec, but I'm pretty sure if you snug them up and then you just go a little bit and you can feel some pressure against the actual bit itself, that should be tight enough. So now we have to put the new bracket on that we just drilled out. So we have to take this old stock bracket off from the actual ultrabee. We got to take that off. So what I did was trying to figure out myself how to take this off, and there's this like little rubber nipple that's on the outside, and what I did was I grabbed it, I pulled it out. Now you can see that it's kind of loose. So on the other side it's also threaded, but you can't actually take off this cap. It's actually part of the casting of the actual bracket. So what you do is you just pull, and once you pull, it'll come right on off. So now the bracket is free. This will stay where it is, but we're going to have to transfer over some parts. We're going to have to take the rubber that's in this side, throw it in here somehow, just push it in and it'll stay. All this is just a little rubber gasket to keep debris out. All right, so now that you have that one in, you grab the old bracket again, and we're gonna have to take this one off. All right, so this little caliper pin is in there pretty good, so I had to use a ratchet to get it loose. Once it's loose, use a little wrench or something to get it out the rest of the way. It's out. I'm gonna put a little bit of Loctite on there just to make sure that it doesn't back out on us. So, and we will just go ahead and screw it right on in. And use our ratchet, and we're gonna just snug it up. Nice. It's time to put the wheel on. So you can see how big the caliper is, so you're gonna have to kind of sneak the wheel around the caliper, especially if you have a bigger tire like I do. So get the chain around the sprocket on the other side. Make sure that you have both of your wheel spacers in the hub. Try to get the chain started. That'll keep the wheel from rolling away. See, you can see that this one spacer is coming out a bit. Let's just fix that. There we go. Nice. And everything is all nice. We're gonna have to pull back the wheel a bit so it can actually go into its position. All right, so I had a bit of trouble adjusting this whole bracket and moving it on that little detent that's on the inside of the frame. I don't know if it was just because mine's dirty or what, but it wasn't easy. I had to actually put my feet up on the pegs to hold the bike and then pull back with my body weight. So finally did, but now you can see that we went too far. This is where our stop should be. So now I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do to get it back. I'm gonna try wiggling it a bit. I feel, oh, actually, if you hit the tire a bit and wiggle, it does seem to go back. All right, so once you have both adjusters in the places that you want them and make sure that they're nice and even, we are going to go ahead and tighten the axle up. Well, if you made it this far, congratulations. You have a nice, pretty brake upgrade. Obviously, we put all this hard work into it. We want to try it, right? So you go and you grab it, and you feel no brake pressure at all. So you go down, you look down here, you can see none of the caliper, none of the pads are moving at all. That's because we disconnected the actual brake line itself. So we introduced some air into this line, preventing the hydraulic fluid, which is just brake fluid, to go ahead and clamp against the rotor. Not good, but not the end of the world. So what we're going to do is we're going to bleed the brakes now to make sure that all that air gets out, and we can actually enjoy our new brakes. So all you're going to need is brake fluid. You can go to your local grocery store. In the automotive section, there should be some brake fluid. Also, your automotive stores also have brake fluid. This is dot 4 and dot 5.1 specifically. I think you can run, what is it? Oh, so it says only use dot 3 or 4 brake fluid. The thing with brake fluid, the higher the number, the better it is technically. The only ones that you can't use is dot 5. Dot 5 is a synthetic. So it will eat up all of the lines and stuff, and that's not good. So I would just highly recommend getting a dot 4. It's going to be perfect for this application. The brakes aren't going to get that hot, and we don't have to worry about brake fade. That's more car-like. Get yourself a hose. This is going to go on the bleeder. I'll show you how that works. And then a wrench for the bleeder. I think it's an 8mm. I'm just using my handy dandy adjustable wrench because once again I'm lazy and I don't feel like finding the right size wrench. So we're going to start off by removing 2 Phillips head screws on top of the master cylinder, and then once they're removed you can take off the cap, and then there's going to be this little diaphragm type of deal right here. It's going to be in brake fluid. Make sure you don't get any brake fluid on anything important, especially paint. It will eat away at that. So put these somewhere safe and keep it away from moisture as well. Brake fluid is hyposcopic, which means that it does like to collect water and moisture in the air. And when that happens, the boiling point of the brake fluid decreases, making it so pretty much if you get the brake lines hot enough, it'll start boiling and then you will lose brakes. So we don't want that. We want to keep it in a nice dry environment. Don't do this in the rain unless you really have to. Use an umbrella. All right, to start this bleeding process, we have to go to the rear caliper again. So you're going to go ahead and find the bleeder. The bleeder will be this little screw, and it's going to have this nice little cap on there to keep any debris out of the hole. So you're going to get that out of the way, and then you're going to get a wrench or a adjustable wrench. And we're going to go ahead and you are going to get it on there nice and securely, and then crack it open, and then you're going to bring it right back just so it's a little bit snug and there's no brake fluid coming out. Take a hose and then find one that fits on there nicely, and it's just going to sit on there like that. Once you have the hose on there, find yourself a container to put the other side of the hose in so it can catch all the brake fluid when we start bleeding it. Just keep in mind, don't use a water bottle. Like I said, the brake fluid does collect all that moisture and it's not good for the brake system. So now here up here by the lever itself, you can see that is the fluid all in there. So what we have to make sure is when we're bleeding that the fluid stays above that little hole right in there. That little hole right there is the hole that makes all the fluid go through. But if any air goes in there, then we have to redo the whole bleeding process all over again. So make sure that the level is above that at all time while we are doing the bleed. Okay, so to start the bleeding process, we are going to start by filling up the brake lever with some fluid just to make sure that it is topped off. Like I said, you don't want that little hole to suck in any air, or we're going to have to redo the whole process over again. So get your brake fluid. Pour it carefully into the master cylinder. Try not to spill. It's kind of hard not to, but just try not to. So now that that's in there, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here try to get in a better position so I'm not in the way of anything. This would be easier if you had two people. You can have one person pumping and filling up the actual fluid in the lever. I am alone, so I don't have a person to do that for me. So I'm going to do it myself. It's good to know how to do it by yourself, because then if you're ever in a pinch in the woods, you don't need another person. You can just do it yourself. So take your handy dandy adjustable wrench, have it handy, put it onto the bleeder, just have it tight and just leave it there for right now. You're gonna grab this and you're gonna pump it. You're gonna pump it a few times. We'll just say 5 times or however many times you want. Once you feel good about the pumps, hold it down and then crack the bleeder. Keep the pressure on the lever. Do not release it. Tighten the bleeder back up. Once it's nice and tight and snug, let go and then pump it again. So we're going to do it 5 times, or how many times you want. Hold it down, crack the bleeder, keep it held down, tighten it up nice and snug, and then pump it again. We're going to keep on doing this until you start seeing a decent amount of fluid come out of the line or the hose that you're using. And you should start feeling a little bit of pressure come back to the actual brake lever. So pump it, open, close. And you're going to keep on doing this until the lever feels good and you can physically see the caliper moving. Thank you for joining me on this fun adventure of installing this Surron ultrabee brake upgrade kit. Like I said, I'll list all the parts in the description. Now that everything is bled and all installed, I don't think we're going to have any issue stopping for quite a while too. Like I said, that rotor should be big enough to dissipate heat and save those pads and make them last quite a long time. So if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. I do try to make a video every week, mostly riding videos, but the more upgrades that I do to this, I will go ahead and start making more of these types of videos. It's fun to document. Also, if you ever forget how to do something, I can always go back and watch that. But yeah, thank you very much and enjoy your new brake.